Today we're continuing our discussion of cohesion, which we can think about as various branches on a tree. They might be different sizes, different shapes, located at different points on the trunk, but in the end, it's all part of the same tree. Our focus for today is on how pronouns and sentence inversions can improve cohesion in our writing. Pronouns allow us to avoid repeating nouns. They link known and new information. And overall, they provide cohesion. Let's look at this example from the classic Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. What you see here is the greeting that is printed on each of the amazing golden tickets. Notice how pronouns are repeated. I shake you warmly by the hand. Tremendous things are in store for you. Many wonderful surprises await you. For now, I do invite you to come to my factory and be my guest for one whole day. You and all others who are lucky enough to find my golden tickets. I, Willy Wonka, will conduct you around the factory myself, showing you everything that there is to see. Go ahead, use your finger. Don't worry about looking silly in front of a computer screen or on your phone or however you're watching this video. How many pronouns are in this paragraph? Is this paragraph more about Mr. Willy Wonka, the I of this passage, or is it more about the you, the lucky child, ideally, who has found a golden ticket in a candy bar? Or is there about an equal balance? Is it equally about Willy Wonka and the finder of the golden ticket? So this excerpt comes from Mildred Taylor's 1976 children's book, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. And I've selected it as an example, not only because it remains a popular choice at area junior high schools, but also because it shows us the power of a well-placed pronoun. Our narrator is a young girl named Cassie Logan, and she is explaining her father's work situation. And you'll notice at the beginning it says, once our land had been Granger land too, but the Grangers had sold it. Do we see a personal pronoun again? No. We see a lot of passive voice. The land was up for sale. It was good, rich land. There was no debt. There was a mortgage. There had not been enough money. Yes, I put a word in red to draw your focus. That, this single demonstrative pronoun. That was why Papa had gone to work on the railroad. Period. This provides cohesion. And it also is just a blunt blanket statement. Here is the reason why my father is not around. There's not enough money. Another example from Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. The narrator's little brother, known as Little Man, does not want the quote-unquote new book that the county has sent to the black school. Little Man is almost obsessively, compulsively clean. But he comes to his teacher and says, "May I have another book, please, ma'am? That one's dirty." And his teacher is horrified. "Dirty? Who do you think you are, Clayton Chester? Here the county is giving us these wonderful books during these hard times, and you're going to stand there and tell me that the book's too dirty?" Notice how the pronoun these emphasizes this grand gift that the county has presented, when really what the county has done is ship off the books that are too beat up, too dirty, no longer fit for the white schools. Now you run the risk, when you use pronouns for cohesion, you run the risk of being too vague. your reader might not understand what your pronoun is referring to. So take a look at exercise 16 on page 97, items 1, 2, and 4. Where do you see vague pronouns that need to be revised? Here's one example. Women in the labor force protested against long hours and poor working conditions. The National Consumers League, founded in 1899, tried to improve that. What exactly is the league trying to improve? Is it trying to cut down on protests? Is it trying to reduce the hours worked? Is it trying to improve working conditions? How could I revise this to be more specific? I could say the National Consumers League, founded in 1899, tried to improve both the length of the workday and the conditions. Maybe the Consumers League really cared more about the protests. The bottom line is, this pronoun is too vague. It could refer to too many nouns in the preceding sentences. In addition to pronouns, sentence inversions can help with the cohesion of our writing. They shift the focus and make sure that we're fulfilling the known new contract. We can put our known information at the beginning of the sentence. And there are two inversions I want to go over. First, there's the passive transformation. Yes, we've talked about this before. Sometimes it's good to use passive voice. And then opening with an optional adverbial. Here's an example of an inversion. If you look at the first version, we have the disaster, we have Congress, then we have the media. This should be our known information, the beginning of each sentence. But the known new contract isn't working here. Look at the revision, which uses passive voice. The disaster was due to the changes in legislation. Legislation is our new idea. It needs to become our known. The new policy was enacted by Congress late last year. So the second sentence has been rewritten from active to passive voice. And then we've got an optional adverbial. Because the vote came so close to winter recess, the media failed to notice. Doesn't the second version flow a lot better? Isn't it easier to read and to comprehend? Hopefully your answer is yes. One last topic, parallelism. Parallelism is where you repeat structures, whole phrases and clauses, words, to bring your writing together around a central theme. What we're going to look at is an excerpt from the very beginning of The Giver. Again, a very popular young adult novel that's read in local junior high schools. It was almost December and Jonas was beginning to be frightened. No, wrong word, Jonas thought. Frightened meant that deep, sickening feeling of something terrible about to happen. Frightened was the way he had felt a year ago when an unidentified aircraft had overflown the community twice. Notice how the word frightened is repeated, especially at the beginning of sentences. Let's look at the second part of this paragraph. He had seen it both times. Squinting toward the sky, he had seen the sleek jet, almost a blur at its high speed, go past, and a second later heard the blast of the sound that followed. Then one more time, a moment later, from the opposite direction, the same plane. And he knows that frightened is not the right word because of something he had seen a year ago. The repeated phrases here bring the ideas together. On Friday, you're going to have test 2. This is just a little bit of information to get you started with your studying. You're going to have more on Wednesday, don't worry. You should expect about 15 questions on chapters 3 through 5. This includes verbs, coordination and subordination, and finally cohesion. You're going to have a little bit of matching. I will ask you to revise and correct sentences. You'll need to define particular terms. One big chunk of your points, and it will be toward the end of the test, but you don't have to do the questions in order. I'll ask you to analyze the cohesion and coordination and subordination in a literary passage. Don't blow this question off. It's worth too much for you to run out of time before you get to it. I'll also ask you to identify clauses and verb tenses. Can you explain when a sentence shows coordination? Can you point out a subordinate or dependent clause? These are some things to start thinking about, and you might want to start reviewing some of the videos from chapters 3 through 5.